Texas State Representative James Talarico just announced this morning he's running for the United States Senate. It's a seat that's currently held by Republican John Cornyn. The thing about Talarico is he's this interesting blend of not afraid to kind of get in your face, but in an elegant way. He also relies heavily on his Christianity and his religion to give him strength. And he's not afraid or shy to be able to show that he is a man of deep faith. And he's also not shy about criticizing establishment Democrats for not getting the job done. I wanted the chance to be able to speak with Representative Talarico today as he announces this campaign for Senate. And I wanted to explore with him a few more issues that are important not only to him, but I also think to all Americans. And joining me now is Texas State Representative who just announced that he is running for the United States Senate, James Talarico. Representative Talarico, I enjoyed spending time with you when I was at MSNBC, so I'm grateful that I get the chance to break bread with you today here at the Katie Phang News Channel. Let's talk about this announcement. It's a big one. I'm excited. I watched your campaign video a few times, and I have to tell you, it reminds me of Abraham Lincoln. It reminds me of the meeting with the people where they are to talk about the things that matter the most to them. Democrats, though, haven't won a statewide office since 1994 in the state of Texas. And trust me, my friend, I am in Florida, so I'm feeling a little bit of that pain. But you did flip a Republican-held open seat back in 2018 to become a Texas state rep. So you can pull this off statewide, right?
I think so. It's a little bit of a leap of faith, but I have just been overwhelmed by the response this morning to our video and to this announcement. And it's not just coming from Democrats. I've had independents, I've had even a few Republicans reaching out, telling me they're rooting for me. And that's because what we're trying to do is bring people together across the spectrum, across all these divides in our country and in our politics, to take on the real problem, which is the billionaires who are controlling our politics, our media, and our economy. And so I can't be more excited for this new adventure.
So you're running for a seat that's currently held by a Republican, John Cornyn. John Cornyn also faces an uphill battle because he's got a primary with the current Texas Attorney General, Ken Paxton. I have no love, frankly, for either of those guys, but especially Ken Paxton. In the end, though, Ken Paxton could end up being your opponent for this Senate seat. How different is the calculus for you if it ends up being a Paxton race versus a Cornyn race?
Well, I look forward to prosecuting the case against either Attorney General Paxton or Senator Cornyn. What I'm trying to do is talk about this corrupt political system, and both of these elected officials personify that corruption, but in different ways. Obviously, Ken Paxton's crimes are well known. I was part of the bipartisan coalition of Texas lawmakers who impeached Ken Paxton for his corruption a few years ago. So I know well how to prosecute that case if he's the nominee. But Senator Cornyn also was the deciding vote on the big ugly bill that is going to kick millions of Texans off their health care. It's going to take food out of the mouths of thousands of Texas children, all to fund tax breaks for his billionaire mega donors. We oftentimes think of corruption as something that's illegal or something that involves money, but corruption is really just the betrayal of the public trust. It is the misuse, the abuse of your public office. And when Senator Cornyn was the deciding vote on that bill, to me, that is the highest form of corruption. So I look forward to the contest against either Cornyn or Paxton, and I think Texans are going to get a real choice, regardless of who the nominee is.
Let's stay on that a little bit because I was interested in a quote that I pulled for you. You're on record saying the following: "I'm not interested in defending this broken political system, as you've noted. I'm interested in transformation, not preservation. And I think it's a fundamental mindset shift that has to happen in the National Democratic Party if we hope to build a big enough coalition that can change this country and make people's lives better." I want to say amen to that. I have lost faith in our electeds in DC. That is somewhere where you are going, right? You have served so well and nobly on the state level. You are looking to take your talents to the national level. You haven't been scared to go toe to toe to criticize our national leadership in the Democratic Party. Talk about why that is the message, why it is so important for people to understand that you're not going to be a part of kind of the way that things have always been?
Well, I'm proud to be a Texas Democrat, and I'm proud to be a part of a political party that still has principles, that still has a vision for this country. But I already have a religion, and I already have a sports team, and so the only reason I'm a part of the Democratic Party is to organize, win political power, and improve people's lives. That is my only loyalty to this party. And if we're not doing that, then things need to change. And we need to share hard truths so that we can accomplish that purpose. And so that's why I don't shy away from criticizing my own party or standing up to the establishment in my own party when it's necessary. And it's certainly necessary now. We lost at every level last year, and people are suffering in my state because of that loss. And so what I'm interested in is, how do we get back on track? How do we rebuild this coalition, expand the coalition? Politics is about addition, not subtraction. And right now, we don't have enough people with us to win a clear majority in this country. And so, yes, one of the things I've criticized is that the Democratic Party, because of the actions of Donald Trump and some of the extreme elements in the Republican Party, they're trying to defend against those attacks on our institutions. I think the danger is the Democratic Party has started to talk about preserving or defending these institutions when, in fact, these institutions don't work for regular people. They're not serving the interests of most people. So I'm not interested in defending democracy. I am interested in fixing democracy so that it can work for regular people in Texas and across the country.
So in Texas, I will say that you are right. Religion and sports are kind of tantamount to being the same sometimes. And again, I'm from Florida, so I understand that as well. Let's talk about religion. For you, Representative Talarico, religion's been a big part of your identity. Your grandfather was a Baptist preacher. And you also you quote scripture from memory. I know that you're studying to take your religion further, even in the academic way, and to be a seminarian. Here's the question I have for you. Religion's been weaponized in such an ugly way by Republicans. And listen, this is nothing new, right? I think for centuries, religion has been used as a weapon against people. But when it comes to the Republicans and the GOP representative, I will say this: religion has been weaponized in a way to drive hate and to make it institutionalized as policies, as laws, in your state especially. How comfortable are you continuing to lean into your religion when it really has just been abused and just kind of bastardized in a way that truly was never a part of the real original Christian tenets?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's one I think about a whole lot. I'm going to be talking about my faith in this race because it is central to who I am. My faith is why I'm in public service. That public service didn't start in elected office. It started on the west side of San Antonio when I was a public school teacher. I was raised as a Christian to believe that my calling is to love my neighbor as myself. And that's not just the neighbors who look like me or the neighbors who pray like me or the neighbors who vote like me. It includes every single human being. And so that is why I'm in this. It is to make my neighbor's life a little easier through public policy. Our elected officials have a lot of power to be able to either hurt people or help people. And I'm interested in helping people. That is why I'm in this. It's why I'm going through this whole crazy thing of a statewide Senate campaign. It's for my neighbors. And I honestly am tired of being pitted against my neighbor. I'm tired of being told to hate my neighbors, especially my neighbors who are different from me, whether that comes from a podium, from a politician, or whether it comes from the pulpit, from a pastor. It's wrong and is a violation of the central tenets of my faith. And so this campaign is going to be about trying to love thy neighbor in our politics. I'm going to be reaching out to people that a Democrat may not typically reach out to. I'm going to be going to places a Democrat doesn't typically go. I'm trying to traverse some of the boundaries that have been set in our civic life, and I hope that is refreshing to people, and I hope it points to a new kind of politics that can turn this country and this state around.
You talk about going to places that other people normally don't go, or perhaps Democrats don't dare to traverse. You went on Joe Rogan's show in July. And I equate you and people like Pete Buttigieg as being those that are willing to go into the proverbial lion's den, as we will call it. What I found to be interesting, though, in that conversation you had amongst other topics with Joe Rogan was the following. One of the kind of central tenets that you were traveling under for your campaign, Representative Talarico, is this idea that the oldest strategy in the world is to divide and conquer. And you talked with Joe Rogan about how it's really more from the top to the bottom versus us being pitted against each other. But one thing y'all talked about with Rogan was that social media, et cetera, conflict is driving clicks and how it's really something we need to get away from. Candidly, I think Joe Rogan's one of the worst offenders when it comes to generating conflict for clicks. But talk a little bit more about why you feel like it's not so much the left versus the right being pitted against each other, but more the top of the food chain being pitted against the rest of us, frankly.
Yeah, and really, we're all trapped in the system. I've been guilty of it too. All of us are a part of this broken system. All I'm asking is for us to look up and really identify who is building the system and why. And in my analysis, it is oftentimes these billionaires who control the social media platforms, control the algorithms, control the cable news networks, and control most of the legacy media. And they have a vested interest in keeping us divided and keeping us distracted. And they do it on a regular basis. They divide us by party, by race, by gender, by religion, so that we don't notice that those same billionaires are funding politicians who gut our healthcare, defund our public schools, and cut taxes for themselves and their rich friends, all at our expense. And so I guess what I'm asking people to do is recognize how these systems are tearing us apart, how the people at the top work so hard to keep us angry and divided. And if we resist that, if we actually come together, if we listen to each other, if we talk through our disagreements and past our differences, we can come together and we can take power back for working people in this state, in this country. That's what motivates me in this campaign. I'm trying to break out of this politics of division that has been hurting this country for far too long.
So let's speak realistically, though, about that philosophy. It is almost in and of itself an ideology that's become foreign, I think, to today's politics. I think today's politics, and listen, I also am guilty of contributing to the toxicity that exists. But part of it is because I have become fed up with feeling like we as in Democrats haven't been punching back. One of the kind of campaign themes you have is let's go flip some tables. Now, I originally thought of the Real Housewives of New Jersey, Teresa Giudice flipping some tables, but I know Representative Talarico, that's not your style.
It works though. Hey, if that works for you, I'm all about it. So
maybe we could do that. We'll go to Jersey together. We'll flip some tables together.
That's right.
But, James, I wanted to ask you though, because I want you to reconcile these two things, because I also struggle. My humanity, my faith struggles with being so hardened and bitter about where we have found ourselves, because I feel like we really are always being caught on the back of our heels in a defensive stance when it comes to the GOP. I struggle with that, with what you have just said, which is we really need to actually talk and listen to each other, because there's more things we have in common than we have not in common. But we are so divided. It seems like we're so far apart right now. How do you also then flip the tables? Are we talking flipping the tables internally, or are we talking when it comes to the Republicans?
Yeah, it's a great question. The launch video we put out was really focused on these people at the top, these billionaires who are dividing us by all of these different, differences between us. And the goal is for all of us to come together and flip over these tables, to flip these systems that are dividing us, that are tearing us apart from each other. And, I think it's a good example in my faith that love is not passive. Love is not weak. Love stands up to injustice. Love stands up to bullies. Love is an active verb. And 2,000 years ago, for Jesus of Nazareth, that looked like walking into the seat of power and flipping over those tables of injustice when the powerful few were rigging the system against ordinary people. That's what his love motivated him to do. And as a follower of Jesus, that's what I'm trying to do here. And I hope all of us, whether you're religious or not, whether you're a Christian or not, we can all come together around this idea of an active, forceful love that stands up for the people that are being hurt.
You and I will go find some Pharisees as well, and we'll go flip some tables. So while you're running for the U.S. Senate, though, you do serve in an incredibly challenging present job as a Texas state representative, which, by the way, a lot of people I was happy to see learned that y'all don't earn any money at all, by the way, as a Texas state representative. And part of the reason why we learned it is because of this latest redistricting battle, which, by the way, a lot of people have learned about redistricting, and they probably had no idea what it was. But I wanted to quickly ask you about that, because that Texas redistricting battle that you broke quorum for and that you fought so hard to do, you got sued, you've been threatened with arrest. I mean, that has now set the table for a possible nationwide battle on redistricting, California Proposition 50 with Newsom and others. I want to know your thoughts about why it's so important to focus on letting Americans know that if Republican policies were so fantastic, why are they trying to rig these elections with these BS electoral maps?
That's exactly right. I've said this is not an issue of party, it's an issue of power. People in power want to hold on to power at all costs. And I think President Trump revealed the thinking and the philosophy behind this when he said that he was entitled to these 5 congressional seats in Texas. I can't imagine anything more un-American than that, because politicians aren't entitled to anything. They're not entitled to these seats. These seats don't belong to Donald Trump. They don't belong to Greg Abbott. They don't belong to me. They belong to the people, and the people get to decide who represents them. So again, this is not a partisan fight. This fight is about whether or not politicians will pick their voters or whether voters will choose their politicians. And I think that there is growing support across the political spectrum for a national ban to end gerrymandering once and for all, ban it in red states, ban it in blue states, ban it everywhere, so that we can have free and fair elections in every community across this country.
Well, we need to get back into the seats of power, and that's why somebody like you, James Talarico, is running for the United States Senate to represent the great state of Texas. I want to thank you, my friend, for spending some time with me today. I know you're busy, but we are all very genuinely excited about your race. Take the last seconds to let people know how they can support you, James.
Well, before I do that, I wanted to congratulate you, Katie, on this new adventure. You are breaking out of these systems and trying something new and different, which is not easy. But I'm so inspired by this action that you've taken, and I hope more people follow your lead in independent media. But yes, if folks want to join this effort, they can go to jamestalarico.com. They can donate. They can sign up to volunteer. This is going to be a people-powered movement. I don't take a dime of corporate PAC money. I never have, never will. I'm going to need regular people to step up and donate $5, $10, $15 to make this work. So for the folks that are watching your program, I hope they continue to support your work. And if they feel compelled, I hope they come and join our movement here in Texas.
Thank you again for your time. Texas State Representative James Talarico, who is now a United States Senate candidate.
Thank you.
Katie Phang here. We launched the Katie Phang News Channel in partnership with the Midas Touch Network so we could bring you the latest in legal and political news. Straight, no chaser. So if you're a fellow truth teller, hit that subscribe button and share the word about this channel so we can build a high information America together.